Hey everybody, it's time for Tuesday tip. This week I'm going to show you how to put a zipped pocket inside the lining. It could be for a handbag, a tote bag, a travel bag. It's just the type of zip pocket you see really regularly within bags, and often it's somewhere where you put things you don't want rolling around at the bottom of your bag. So what you need is you need your lining pieces or piece, you need a zip, and you need the inside of your pocket. Okay, I've chosen this zip. It's 7 inches long, and when you measure a zip, just so that you know, let me just show you this zip so I can get it. Oh, there we go. A zip you measure from the highest length of the pull to where the stop is, not from the ends of the tapes. So it's from the highest end here to where the pull is to the end, to the stop end. Okay. The way to construct this is you actually make, again, like we did a couple of weeks ago, you make a pillar box opening and then you place the zip underneath it. I'm going to make the opening smaller than the actual zip. I tend to do that so I don't have to see the end bit. I just want it to be slightly smaller. Okay, so I'm going to make my opening 6.5 inches, and I'm going to make sure it's centered in the middle of my piece of lining. Okay. So I've decided that my opening is going to be 6.5 inches. For the inside of my pocket, the inside of my pocket needs to be 1 inch bigger than the opening. I hope you're following this. So it's 1 inch bigger than the opening. So my opening is going to be 6.5, and I'm going to make, that means that I'm going to make this, the width of my pocket inside, behind the lining, is going to be 7.5. In terms of the depth of the piece of material, so the length of the piece of material that you're going to need, it depends on how long you want the pocket. So my rule of thumb is if you want a pocket that's 4 inches deep inside, you need double that plus 1. So I want a 4 inch deep pocket, 4 inches deep, and I need this to be, so 4 inches deep, I need double, which is 8, and then plus 1. Okay. Right, so we know the width of and the height, how to get your pocket size. We know how to determine now the size of your pillar box opening, and you need a zip that will fit within it but not be too small for it. Okay. All the marking for this is done on the back of your lining. So I decided what I want to do. I've actually put some interfacing on this just to give it a little bit of strength. I've decided I want my pocket 2.5 inches down. Actually, it's 2.25 inches down. That's what I wanted, of course. And I then put a crease in. Okay, so you won't be able to see that crease, but the crease is about here. I wanted my, I carry this crease down so you can see. I wanted my pillar box to be 6.5 long. That means that the middle, that centre line, is going to hit at 3.25, because double 3.25 is 6.5. So I have then drawn a line. I have then drawn this line from, sorry, let me just get this right. Yeah, drawn this line from 0 to 6.5, and the midpoint here, the midpoint where the fold was, is at 3.25. Okay, they're the sort of crucial elements of this. You then create a box by dropping down 1/2 inch, okay, and then going back up. So I've decided it's going to be 2.25 down. I know my opening is going to be 6.5. I know that half of that is 3.25, so I've put that on the midpoint with the fold, and then I've created a box by dropping down 1/2 inch. Now the next stage to this is to sew. All you need for this type of pocket is a normal zipper foot, a normal zigzag foot, sorry. Don't think you're going to need a zipper foot. I think you can get away with just using this one, but we can see. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to position your your pocket fabric right sides facing down, so right sides against the lining facing up, okay, right sides together. And what you're going to do is you're going to position this so it goes over. I'm just going to pin here so we can actually see where the edges are. You're going to position this so that it goes over the box, okay. So what I want it to do, so there's the edges, so I probably need to move it over that way a little bit, okay, and it's probably a little bit high, so I'm going to drop it down. I want it about ½ an inch or so above my pocket, and I want it to be centered, okay, so I'm going to move it across. There's lots of ways of doing this. I've done it so many times that I find that I can probably guess it as quickly as I can. Okay, let's see if this works better. Okay. It's probably famous last words, isn't it? And this will be the one time that doesn't work. Okay, so the marks I've made on the other side, I've actually made with a friction pen. That's pretty good. I'm going to go with that. The marks I've got on the other side are actually made with a friction pen. You could actually make them with any pen because you're not going to see them, they're going to be in the lining. The other thing I didn't mention, I did put this dotted line in the middle. You'll see about that in a second. It's where we're going to cut along. But for now, what I'm going to do is just sew right the way through. So I've got my lining and the inside of my pocket facing together. I've secured them at the top. I've made sure that they just go over either side. So I want to make sure that I've got a pocket bit either side. And I want to make sure that there is about 3/4 of an inch or so above, okay, where I'm going to sew. So I have actually put my knee lifter on so that I can, there we go, so you don't see my hand all the time. Okay, let's go. So you're going to sew on the line of the box that you have created. And you get to the corner of the box. Don't go one stitch too far. And you get to the corner of the box. Go around. Okay. Okay, and I'm just going to go back over that and then do a little backwards. Okay, that's me, I'm good. Right, that's kind of one of the harder bits done. So the lining has got caught on the other side, that's not so great, but that's fine. I'll quickly fix that, I'm sure. So it's just got caught. You see it just got caught slightly. So I'm just going to unpick that a little bit there. Keeping it real. Okay. Let's go back over that side there. Better, so you can see, you probably can see the box right the way around there. Okay, so I'm going to take these pins out. Now what I need to do now is I need to cut along this dotted line, and all this dotted line was a line that was in the middle of my box. The other line I can draw is when I get to about 1/4 of an inch from the end of my box on both ends. I'm just going to do a little line that goes up to the sides. I'll do that on the same on the other side. That means that when I get to this point, I'm going to stop cutting that way and I'm going to start cutting out to the sides. Now what I don't want to do is I want to cut through everything, like right the way through to this side. What I don't want to do is I don't want to cut into my stitches. Okay. Okay. So that's what you're left with. So my box is sewn around, the dotted lines in the middle I've cut around, and these parts are cut up. Okay, so now if I look on the other side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn all of these bits through to the other side. Okay, so I'm just going to hand press it down here, and then I can show you what's going on. Bring this through. Okay, so this needs a jolly good press, but can you see that I've got the makings of my box now? Okay, I'm going to pop the zip in there, and then eventually I'll bring the back up, and it'll be where my zip goes in, and then this at the back will be my pocket. Okay, so I'll just go and iron this so that it's nice and neat. You may need, so the corners are always tricky, and you may need to cut in further to these. I'm not sure there's an awful lot to cut on, but you may need to just snip a little bit more, so just be aware of that. You can take some scissors with you to the ironing board. Okay. Okay, so here's how it looks after a good press. Okay, which is pretty fantastic. It is a bit of a battle of wills to get these edgy bits to sit nicely, but this isn't bad, I don't think. Okay, so now I'm going to put my zip underneath. Okay, I'm just going to pop it in like this. Okay, now again, we could use the gluey sticky tapey thing if we wanted to, or we could just pin it and sew it, and I'm going to pin it and sew it. You could tack it, of course, as well. So again, we're top stitching this, a bit like we did with the first zip I showed you how to do on the back of a the first zip I showed you how to do on the back of a cushion. Let's get this pin in right so I don't miss the, make sure that pin's in the right place. Go back and check it. Not quite right. It's quite thick now because I'm going through sort of double fabric and double interfacing there, trying to get these pins to hold in place. Right, let's put this in the middle. I can hold that one. Okay, I think we're good. I'm just going to move this in a bit. Okay, and I'm just going to stitch around it as a box. Okay, I might decide actually to use my zipper foot in the end. Sometimes you think you can get away with it, but I don't think on this occasion I can. Alright, so I'm now going to reset that down. Okay, so I've moved my needle over to this left hand side. Okay, and now I'm going to stitch down. So by changing the foot, it just means that I can get that little bit closer to this edge here. Okay, off we go. past, and then I'm going to twist it round and go over slowly because I'm going over a zip. Okay, over the zip, happy days. Turn it round a little bit closer, I think, so we'll just do one more stitch. Okay, just move this. Okay, and then twist around again, that last little bit. And then back over my starting point. A little back stitch. Okay, so let's just clip those ends. Now, if I show you, I've got a zip pocket. So obviously it's not much use unless it's, so I'm just going to fold this up, okay, and not counting the top, I'm going to sew this along. So I'm not going to go right the way through to the lining, I'm just sewing the inside of the zip pocket together. I'm going to leave my zipper foot on. And then you do exactly the same to sew up the edges of your pocket. So I'm just going to sew the edges, I just want to sew the inside of the pocket, not the actual bag lining. Sometimes you might find that your zip gets in the way, but you can just sew right the way up to the zip. If you can't go all the way up like I've been able to do, then you can just sew up to the zip and then just go do that last little top bit separately. So this one I'll come down so you can see. And over the pesky zip. Okay, and then all the way down. Okay, so this has been manhandled, needs a bit of a press, but we now have some lining with an inner pocket to put all those things you don't want to lose. Next week I'm going to show you how to turn this lining and show you how to make a bag and turn this lining into the inside of the bag. Okay, see you next week.